Hello everyone, welcome back to Johnnykin and the Goblins. We're going to continue where we left off. Charlie was just leaving. This time, Charlie turned himself into a great frog and made a clear leap across the church. Now, if he had done what he intended, he would have slighted full on the face of Marjorie Daw, who was waiting for him. But as she saw him coming, she held out her fan at him, and as she did, so it changed into a great cruel-looking carving fork. But Charlie was too quick for her with his goblin magic, for as she held the fork out, it turned into a twig. The prongs shot out into branches and became a pretty bough full of leaves and flowers, among which Master Charlie fell without any harm whatsoever to him. But it also made very little impression for an instant after they saw him change into a bottle of champagne and shoot himself with a tremendous pop as the cork, the bottle vanishing into a distant place, whence he immediately returned as Asky Rocket knocking his three friends, this time head over heels. Whereupon they set up upon him and beat him, and there was a terrible fight, which was apparently very much all in earnest. It was, however, speedily stopped by a hideous creature with a great stick. He was black, hairy, awfully ugly, and at one look from his dreadful eyes, Master Charlie and his companions became quiet as mice. "Who is that?" asked Johnnykin. "Bogey," replied Chesme. "I believe is one of the absurd creatures. We don't see him often nowadays. He can't really do anything, only frighten people. If you don't believe in him, he isn't anywhere, though they say he lives in the coal cellar." Just as she said this, old Bogey rose up before them in all his terrors, glared at Chesme, opening his great red mouth as if to swallow her alive, and crying, "Boo!" Johnnykin shivered, but Chesme only laughed and snapped a sugar plum into his open jaws, which were bigger and uglier than those of a hippopotamus. Definitely bigger than a hippopotamus. With a hideous grimace and a frightful roar of anger, Bogey sank down out of sight, disappeared right into the floor. "Tell me one thing more," asked Johnnykin. "Who is Little Boy Blue? Is he old?" "Yes," replied Marjolaine. "Wherever there are blue eyes and blue skies in dear old England, and while the blue sea surrounds it, and while they are hayfields, and while people think with love of the quiet days of the olden time, and while fairy tales are written for children, there will be Little Boy Blue." As she said this to Johnnykin, he looked into her blue eyes and saw in them the same sweet innocent look as in the Little Boy Blue's, and felt that she was to him what the Little Boy Blue is to all the children. In summer, when the days are long and very, very beautiful. And that's the end of that part, guys. We finally meet the Bogey, which is, well, there are different... It's like a goblin, but also known to be a brownie that's become miserable and unassociated with people or humans or any other fairies. But when you look to fairy tales, and such as these folklore tales, the Bogey seems to be one of his own kind. You know, he's not from any other kind of fae, and he's not from any other being. He just is a bogey. So yeah, it's interesting. Thank you for listening. Join me next time on the Johnnykin adventure with the goblins. Many blessings.